Well, we're going to be talking to our new senator from Ohio, and that is Senator John Husted, who was appointed to the seat by Governor DeWine earlier this year. As you know, that our former senator is now serving as our vice president with President Trump. That's J.D. Vance. He leaving the seat, opened the seat, and the governor appointed our lieutenant governor to serve as our new U.S. senator. And he's doing a fantastic job and very busy. I follow him on social media, and we'll get to that, where how you can follow the senator and all that he's doing. Senator, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Chris.
Well, thank you, John. It's great to talk to you as a U.S. Senator. Congratulations on the position, and you've hit the ground running with our new Senator Bernie Moreno, who defeated Sherrod Brown. Lots of people have tried to defeat Sherrod Brown over the years. There was a number of oncomers, but Bernie was able to take him down this last election as President Trump took the state and, of course, the Senate seat. And we need both of your seats to pass the president's agenda. Let's talk about that a little bit, because in fact, the three of you, the vice president, and both you and Bernie have been the factor of passing a lot of important legislation and the president's agenda. The vice president has had to break the tie because we have some holdouts in Maine and Alaska, unfortunately, with those two Senate seats. Let's talk about that just briefly. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I've worked very well with both Bernie Moreno and, of course, J.D. Vance. And yeah, look, when we were trying to get the America First agenda put forward to help working families in this country through the big, beautiful bill, what did that contain? It contained no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, $2,200 tax credit to help working families pay for things like childcare and just maintain a good quality of life. It cut taxes on Social Security. It did things like Pell Grants that are for workforce credentials. Rather than saying you have to only spend federal money on college, we're saying no, workforce credentials are in many cases better because they lead to jobs directly and without college debt. So we did a lot of these pro-family, pro working class family types of policies, and yeah, we passed it by one vote, and it's frankly going to lead to more money in the pockets of Ohio families, and I'm proud of that. And it also secured the border. There was money in there for border security and other things. That the tragedy. I know you feel this, Chris. That the tragedy of open borders, millions of people pouring across, drug traffickers, labor traffickers, and the scourge of human traffickers, particularly with children. We're fighting against those things. We're trying to restore order in America, restore the working class family, and this bill went a long way to helping make life a little easier for them.
Well, that's right. You know, you just spelled out what the open border meant. It meant drugs trafficking over that border almost at will, human trafficking of those who are sex trafficked into our country, children among them. And then, of course, the illegal labor that was brought into the country, which leaves Americans outside the employment door while others are coming in, not to mention in a number of states receiving unbelievable benefits that just coming, first of all, violating our laws, coming to those sanctuary cities or states, getting taxpayer money. It was an insult to the American people who work hard every day. And I thank you, Senator, and your colleagues for passing the one big beautiful bill, and again, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. That's going to mean a lot to our seniors here in Ohio, who basically that's going to mean more money for them, and the money that they put into the Social Security trust fund is entitled to them, and so that's all of that is really good stuff. I was listening to Newt Gingrich when some were talking about, well, we should be spending this on this level and we should do more in cuts. And I know that we all want to get there, but he said this is a good first step. And I think that's really important coming from the former Speaker of the House, who had the only balanced budget in the last 40
Yeah.
plus years. I'll take his
Well,
word over others. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. Look, it would have been a $4 trillion tax increase on the working people of America if we had not passed the bill. Like this is the other side of things. Okay, you say, well, don't pass it. Well, you want to see a $4 trillion tax increase? All those people, all those families, the average family of four in Ohio making $80,000 a year will save $2,100 with this proposal. They would have seen their tax increase by $1,700. I mean, think about that. Think
Yes.
about that for the average working family. Like that is, those are the things that matter for real people every day. Like like if anybody has to pay for childcare, they realize that that costs more than college does and, for many people. And anything you can do to help working families is great. But it also cut the budget deficit by 366 $1 billion. That's not enough, Chris. Like we need to do more because it's not right to pass on this debt to the American to the future Americans, the next generation, children and grandchildren. And I'm dedicated to that. But this didn't make it worse. It made it slightly better on that front. And now we're going to have to, but you see how hard it is. Look, when you're trying to cut things, we had a $9 billion rescissions package that the president offered that cut things like transgender surgeries in Guatemala, Sesame Street in Iraq. It ended the subsidies to National Public Radio, and we barely got that done. We got that done by one vote. It's just the Democrats won't cooperate on anything. They're trying to delay the president's agenda, and so we're doing the best we can to put order back to this budget. But we got to do better. But I need you to help me elect some more Republicans
Well,
so
that's right.
we can get this done across the country.
That's right. In the U.S. House, our friend Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, he's dealing with a few seat majority, the smallest majority of any party, and I think in Congress's history. And yet he's being able to pass the president's agenda over in the Senate again. Your majority isn't much, and you have some holdouts with Miss Murkowski up there in Alaska and Susan Collins in Maine. And quite honestly, a few others who, on ideological terms, Rand Paul will hold out on because he believes we should cut, and which I agree. We all agree, but you have to be practical in these things and how you go forward, like the former speaker Newt Gingrich said. So again,
It's a
press.
practical problem. It's a practical problem in the House and in the Senate when you have slim majorities that you got to have the votes. You got to be able to get to 50 votes. You got to be able to get to a majority. And if the Republican team doesn't stick together for whatever reason, sometimes valid, sometimes invalid reasons, it's hard to get it done. But we're making great progress. That's the good news is on all of these fronts we have made progress. The Senate's been in session more days this year than it has been in 60 years. We're trying to get the president's nominees confirmed, despite the fact that Chuck Schumer holds out on every single one of them and tries to run out the clock. But we're not going to relent. We're going to keep working.
I hope that people remember that because, when Barack Obama came to the presidency, the Republicans gave him his nominees pretty quickly. And the Democrats do not play in kind. And this thing is ridiculous because it was a mandate. Uh, President Trump winning in a mandate. This is an outrage by Chuck Schumer. He's not a good person. I got to tell you, people have just about had all they could take. Mr. Schumer and his colleagues holding up President Trump's agenda by his nominees. These are men and women who are willing to serve the American people at these posts. They're not getting wealthy doing it. They're actually coming out of their life to do this and take time out to serve the American people. I think they deserve the nominations and the confirmations.
Well,
Let's talk about that,
yeah,
Senator.
yeah,
So
they
right
need a
now,
vote. They need a vote.
that's
They
right.
deserve a vote.
They deserve a
And by
vote.
the way, I may not like the next Democrat who gets elected president, but think about this: they get inaugurated in January, and now it's August, and Chuck Schumer's holding up hundreds of people from getting a vote. I'm not even saying you have to vote for them. I'm just saying that they deserve a vote so that the president, whoever that president is, can get their team on the field, give them a vote. If they don't win in the vote, fine, but you can't delay the vote, try to prevent people from having their day in democracy when the voters of this country, like, you wonder why we don't get things done quicker. Well, it's 8 months into the presidency, and Chuck Schumer still won't let many of these nominees even come up for a vote.
Many people, American people, see that the president is actually keeping his promises. Gas prices are coming down. Food prices are coming down a little bit. Commodities are coming down because of transportation costs have come down, and that's passed along to the consumer. We're still dealing with real estate tax. He's aware of that. That's a state issue, of course. But all those kinds of things, those factors, the trade negotiations are going well for the president in Europe and a number of the other countries. All of that is going his way. And of course, peace negotiations in troubled places around the world internationally, the president really should be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for what he is doing on so many fronts of bringing countries together and brokering peace deals. This president is doing unprecedented accomplishments in just the first 200 days, and yet these appointees are being held up by really Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. It's an outrage. Senator, what is the process? Because we have judges that are waiting in the queue
Yeah.
as well, federal judges. Let's talk about that.
So a lot of these, though, that we're talking about are lower level people who came out of committee on a bipartisan vote. Typically, what the Senate's done in the past is they would do them en bloc, or they would do them by voice vote or unanimous consent, meaning that you'd have 60 or 70 of them. You just say, put them in a package. We're going to voice vote it, and we'll move on. Chuck Schumer's trying to run out the clock, which requires a 2-hour process for every single one of them. So when we return in September, I think the Senate's going to take up a new parliamentary procedure that Leader John Thune will organize for us to just say, hey, these can come directly to the floor. We're going to do 10-minute votes on every single one of them. We don't go through this 2-hour cloture process on all of them. We're just going to vote, and we're going to get this done. And I'm hopeful that, by the way, in this should be done for a Democrat president or a Republican president. You shouldn't thwart the will of the voters when they put somebody in there. You should vote up or down on their nominees, and this should go without delay.
That's exactly right. And again, we're just past the first 200 days of the president's term, and it needs to get done so we can go forward. Now, you're out there on the field right now in a recess, and you're talking to businessmen and women. You're talking to everyday folks. You're speaking around Ohio. What are they telling you at this time?
So it's interesting. I was in Marietta, down in Southeast Ohio on Monday, and then on Tuesday I was down in Cincinnati. So I was at both corners of the southern tip of the state. And the interesting thing is that you still hear many employers talking about they can't find enough people to go to work, even though you would have people believe from media reports that the economy is slowing down. Employers still say that they can't find enough people to go to work. And Chris, you know what? It's just incredibly interesting that that's the case when we have so many people who are on public assistance in this country, including healthy, able-bodied adults who are receiving Medicaid benefits who just don't work. And look, we got to restore the work ethic to the country. That's why I'm proud of the fact that in the big beautiful bill we have a work requirement now that's going to go in place next year. If you're a healthy, able-bodied adult without young children, and your neighbor is going to work every day, paying for your free health care, well, now you're going to have to go to work at least 20 hours a week, or volunteer, or go to school, so that you're preparing yourself and you're giving something back to the community in return for the generous benefits that your fellow Americans are providing for you. We need to restore that dignity of work, okay?
Yes.
Of have people actually go to work and actually contribute something to society if they're capable of doing it, so that we do have resources available for the people who can't, people with disabilities, people who are elderly, children living in poverty. We want to have support for them, but to do it, we have to have more Americans contributing to the solutions. And that's one of the things I've heard a lot about as I've been traveling the state. Also, crime. When I was down in Cincinnati yesterday, I visited with law enforcement officials, and they're complaining that, hey, we see crime, we arrest people, but then the judges let them out, before the end of the day. And then the next time we see the same people, they know like they don't have to pay attention to what the police say to them because they know they'll be back out in the streets even if we arrest them. So that's the kind of thing that you're hearing concerns from law enforcement and people who live in particularly some of our larger urban areas is that they want to see law and order restored and protecting people and their property.
Well, that's what the president's doing, what he's doing in Washington, D.C. I've, traveled there over the years. I know that you have as well. Now you're working there, and the city itself was needing it was really needing someone to deal with the crime. And the president stepped up and said, okay, this is our nation's capital. This is where our seat of government is. We're going to get busy here, and we're going to work with local authorities. And there's been immediate results with the Justice Department. And other officials working already. There's been a number of arrests of people that were just sitting on the sidelines again with the soft on crime policies. Well, that's turned around in Washington, D.C. That's great. Hope to see that in Cincinnati. But I'm thankful for the voice that you spoke when we saw the problem down there in Cincinnati, those people beaten up in the streets, and how there's been, I think, 6 or 7 arrests now. And the Justice Department is watching how the local authorities deal with that so that it's not just swept under the rug. And so, as Ohioans, we are concerned about that, the Queen City. And so, we're glad to see that something's being done. And thank you for your weighing in on that, Senator.
Every city should be safe, but our nation's capital should be the safest city in the country. That should be a statement of who America is and what it's about. And the president is taking, firm action to make sure that we restore order to our nation's capital. It is, soft on crime does not work. And by the way, I'm not for throwing people in jail or prison if they didn't commit violent offenses. I'm not,
That's
I
right.
want people to have second chances in life. But when you're committing violent crime, against your fellow man and woman in this country, there has to be a consequence. We have to set the standard that says, no, you can't do that. You just can't walk up and punch people. You can't threaten them with guns and knives. You can't just bust windows out in cars and steal people's things without there being a consequence to that. And I think it's just people are sick and tired of it. I think the president senses that, and he's trying to lead in D.C. And I hope other mayors will follow because I said in Cincinnati, I hope the mayor down there decides that he's going to restore law and order. That Cincinnati is going to be a city where they don't tolerate crime and violence and theft, and that he'll become the most popular mayor in the history of Cincinnati because he would if he was able to do that. But if he doesn't do it, you're going to see Cincinnati and other places suffer the way that we saw San Francisco and Portland and all of these left-wing cities that just allowed crime and violence and drug trafficking to go on, and it undermines. It's just you make your city a place where nobody wants to come visit, nobody wants to invest, nobody's going to go out to dinner at night. You're going to hurt your economy and most of all the poor people who live there who have to deal with this and live with this. We've got to be there has to be more accountability in this world.
Absolutely. Well, Senator, we certainly pray for you, and we pray for Senator Marino and all those serving with you in the U.S. Senate and the Congress and our president. We are praying for success and God to bless you as you continue to serve the people of the state of Ohio. And we thank you, and we hope that you'll be back with us on the program in the future. I know that you have a tight schedule this morning. I want to thank you for joining us today. And how can people follow you on social media and all that you're doing?
Yeah, well, we're available out there on Facebook and X and all of the various accounts. You can follow us at a couple of different places on X uh, John Husted at JONHUSTED, or the Senate account at SENJONHUSTED. And you get updates and you can sign up for our newsletters and things like that. And we would love to keep in touch. And yeah, and thank you for the prayers. Please pray for us as well. I'm not one of those people that think I'm right all the time. Just if you have something I don't do that you think I should do differently, just pray for me and let me know, and we'll try to make sure that we're explaining why we make the decisions that we do, why we do what we do, and if you're persuasive enough, we'll change our minds. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Senator. God bless you. And we'll be watching very carefully and closely. And we'll also be praying for your family as well as you serve us in the U.S. Senate. Thank you, sir.
Yep. Thank you.